rename a column? Yeah, how do we rename a column? We will see the command. How do we delete a row? Also, we will see the command. And how do we describe? Also, we will see the command. Okay. And
we can add on how to rename our own table, which we have created.
Rename the column, and also rename a column, rename a table. Okay. Okay.
And Pratik, I want to ask one more thing. Can we change, like, if we have selected like integer type, can we change that also? Like if we want to use that as a string or
data type,
character data type, can we change that also? If we have,
yeah, we can to certain extent, Ashish.
Okay.
Meaning, let's say you have created a table, there is a column called as name, and the limit that you had specified was 10 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
now you realize that it should be 5 characters.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is existing data which contains 8 character already, let's say there is a name called as Ashish which contains 7 characters,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then in that case, Ashish, you would not be able to downgrade it.
We can upgrade it.
We can upgrade it as, so my point is any such alteration to the data definition of a table cannot create a conflict with the existing data in the table, Ashish.
Okay. Okay,
Did
got
you
it.
understand what I just said?
Yes, I got it. That if we have 8 character in my name.
Yeah, I'll give you
And
another example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say there is a column called as identity or ID column.
Right.
Okay. Now, at the time of creation, you did not assign any primary key to it. Meaning, you did not make it. You do not make it. What do you say? You do not make it primary key. That means you do not make it as unique.
Okay.
Okay.
Unique, we don't understand. Means we have.
Meaning two people cannot have the same ID number.
Okay.
So that is also a constraint that we defined at the time of creation of a table. We will talk about it as well.
Okay.
So what happens with that is that if you have not assigned as a constraint that that column should be unique only, should contain unique values, and you have already added that column and you've added data to that table, right, Ashish?
Right.
Now, if you have added data to the table and if you end up later assigning that, later you end up assigning a constraint to that column ID that column cannot contain repeated values or has to be unique, then what would happen is it would create a conflict with the existing data.
Okay, got it. Right, got it.
In nutshell, what you need to understand is that any conflict with the existing data is not allowed.
Okay.
Okay. That said, just to do a quick recap, tell me if I'm incorrect here. We discussed how do we create tables, right? Last time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We discussed how do we create columns in the table as well.
Yes.
Right.
And you all can see my screen, right?
Yes.
And so yeah, create the tables, and I can see that a lot of you have created the tables. And yeah, do you remember this command?
Yes, Pratik.
What does this command do?
So whatever the fields we have created in like column names, this will describe all those columns.
Absolutely. So this is how I think Govind was asking this question, right? Govind, this is how we say, what is the data type of a column?
Okay.
I get your point. I don't know why it is taking so long. Run the query. Okay. Your name. Sorry. Should be your name. I hope nobody tried to create a table with your name.
No.
No. It cannot happen, I guess.
Well.
Yeah, if somebody's name is your name.
Pratik,
sorry to interrupt you, but right now I am on different screen and I am not able to get this screen. If you allow me for a few minutes to share my screen so that
No
we
worries.
will on the same.
I will tell you how to get this. Yeah. Ideally, what we should have done is that if you remember, we loaded these scripts in a text file. So let's say I copy this in a text file. These commands are already copied, right? It should be saved somewhere, right? Now, if you notice on the top right hand side, top left hand side, there is something called as a plus here, right? It will be a plus over there, Abhishek. Do you see this? So when you
Yes.
click on plus, okay, it doesn't allow. Okay, it allows. Anyway, so the screen that you're seeing is do you see the connection? I mean, do you see the schemas here on the left hand side, Abhishek?
No, actually, that's my concern only.
Acha, go ahead and
I don't think I have already established the connection or not. That is why I'm a little bit confused.
Go ahead and share the screen quickly.
Thank you. This is the screen what I am getting right now.
Acha, so what you have done is that you have not established the connection with that database. In order to establish the connection with that database, what you need to do is on the top right hand side, look at my annotation here, right? Here. You have this data, right? Click on it. You see this. Click on it. Now. Okay. Were you able to load the data last time? I mean, have you given the right credentials and everything, Abhishek?
Yes, I have that PD Word file which you have uploaded on LMS.
Acha. No, I mean, I know, but did you establish the connection before, Abhishek?
No, I just tried a few minutes ago and I input all the details like host name, port name, login, password, and database name as well. But after this, I'm getting only this screen.
Acha, go back.
Pratik, this error comes. This was happening with me also earlier. What we did, like we had handwritten the password
and
2-3 times. Okay,
right.
it takes time to create a connection. So you need to write the password correctly by hand. I mean, copying doesn't work with this. There was some problem that wasn't working like that.
Come here. Edit connection. Test. Give the username here.
Username is this, right?
Yeah.
Admin.
Yeah. Don't give a space, extra space. Okay, type it out.
Okay.
Actually, the problem is when we copy things from a Word file versus a Notepad file, then the text copied are very, very different.
Done. Test it.
Test, yeah. Then we need to check this.
Try 2-3 times, it will happen. It happened with many of us.
Yes, Pratik.
Should I write the password again and again?
Yes, 2-3 times, yeah.
Okay.
Capital I, huh? Capital I.
Yeah. Yes.
And the P is also capital.
Yes, capital I and capital P.
Yes.
1 exclamation. Test.
Now it could.
I mean, I would be very surprised, why it would give why that would happen. I'd be extremely surprised.
It was testing us actually.
Should I connect it?
Yeah. I mean, I would be I would be surprised.
It's again troubleshooting.
No.
No, it'll happen. It'll take time.
See, remember, these are not local systems. You know,
It's
you
done
are.
now, no? It's done.
Yeah,
See.
I mean, do you understand what I'm trying to say? You are actually working on a cloud database which is hosted, I don't know where, and then you are using a cloud client as well, which is also hosted, I don't know where, and then you have internet connection. So, I mean, there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes. So it takes a little bit of time for refreshing.
So where should I write that credit card database to get the database for this?
Abhishek, ideally, you should have done all these things before the class, but that's fine. I mean, look at the tables here, drop down. Yeah. So these are all the tables that people have created. And if you and in order to write those commands, right, what you need to do is that where these command sample queries are written, you would essentially need to let's click on this plus. Does it allow? No. Okay. Here, just go there. Here. Yeah. So here, just copy and paste those commands from that Word document that you had, right? And you have to kind of
I'm not able to see my old commands which I have done earlier.
But you just said that you were not able to connect, right?
No, I'm Ashish this side. So I have created my table, but I am not able to see though.
Stopping my sharing.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I'm not able to see my old commands, which I have already done. It's showing new page.
Okay. And meaning, so it comes over here, if you notice here. So where you have to go is you have to go to queries. I mean, depends as to whether you saved it or not. So if you go to queries here, Ashish.
Okay.
Do you see drafts?
Queries, draft res. Yes, I can see. Okay, I got that. Thank you.
Got it?
I think how do we
Yes.
save? Because I didn't save it.
Yes.
It gets saved in the draft automatically. The only thing that you can do is you can rename them.
Okay.
So it does get saved automatically.
I didn't get this this left hand side untitled query. I couldn't see this.
Where you see them is when you click here in queries, this button.
Okay.
Then you will see them.
Okay.
I don't know why it's not renaming
though. Shall I log into this pop-up SQL or should I stay on my SQL bench?
See, I mean, you can stay on MySQL workbench. That's not a problem at all.
And where can I see this draft thing in MySQL bench?
Where can you see what? No, you don't see that there. There you will see under schemas, you will see the table that you've created, or let's say we are connected to. Are you connected to AWS? I mean, connected to this this database, Faisal?
Let me see.
Or you created your own?
I've created my own Faisal_123.
Acha. So if then you will any database that you create comes over here under schema, Faisal.
Okay.
And then there you will see the tables.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes, I can see that the table that I've created.
Yeah. And you can also right click it and you can use it. You can make it default. Okay. When you make it default, then any command that you run here by default runs that command. That database in MySQL.
Pratik, just one quick question on SQL.
Sorry. Just one.
Yeah, sure.
You can either right click on it, Faisal, make it as default schema, or you can use this command use.
Yes, in fact, that's my another question. So what do you mean by use? Is it select or?
See, it selects it. Use is another method of saying that, okay, this is the default database that we will work up with. See, the advantage of using use or making a database as default is what? That if you see here in this command that I had shared with you guys,
I have to every time mention the database.
every time you mention the database name.
Okay. And
And
by using use, I'm actually defaulting it so that I don't have to write the
Haji,
database name.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. What I want to understand is, were you guys able to also upload any data in it, in your tables?
Yes, that inside
Yes,
part.
yes.
Okay. Essentially, you were able to do all these steps, right? Insert, delete,
Yes.
and then update, right? Everybody?
Yes.
Yes, I did it, but except the describe thing.
Except the describe. Why? Describe is just describe.
I missed it.
Acha, that's fine. But you know, it's as simple as that. Just write describe and it'll give you the metadata of the table. So that's how we describe the metadata of a table. Govind.
Pratik, can I ask my question
Yeah,
now?
sorry. Yes, Chit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, I was working on this POP one, but I do have SQL Workbench. So just wanted to know how to establish a connection with this database on Workbench as well. So that,
Chit, do you also have database as well installed, like MySQL also installed on a machine?
yes, I think so. Yeah,
And
the
I
whole
want
project.
to also.
Chitiz, then even if you do not establish the connection, right? Then you know what you would be seeing is a local instance here, right?
Yeah, that's the root one, right?
So when you click on it, it establishes a connection with the local database server.
Okay.
Okay. So what you need to do is all these commands, all these commands that we have, you bring them here, right?
Okay.
And you don't have to be worried about these because it's already done for you at the time of installation. Okay. It is.
Okay.
Now here, when we say show tables, right? Now the problem is that you're connected to the database server, but there are no databases created in it.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So what ideally you will then have to do is you'll have to create a database. Create database, and let's say let's call this as a credit card temp or something, whatever database you want to give, right?
Okay.
You select it and you run it, and you will get this output, like which says success. I get a point. Green tick mark meaning success, and just compare with the interface here. Here, whatever output we get success here on the right hand side.
Right.
It is. Here, what is happening is we get the output down below. This window
Okay.
also I can bring it actually down here. I think there is a method of doing it, but so anyway, I mean that also we will check out. But anyway, so the point is that's the only difference. So here in POP SQL, the problem is that somehow it doesn't allow us to run a create database. I mean, it allows us to run create database, but somehow the database does not end up getting refreshed here. For example, because the challenge here in POP SQL is when we establish the connection, there we have to mention the database name, so it allows us to connect to a particular database at a time. Chitish.
Okay.
But when you are locally connected, then you have full liberty. So you can create a database, you can drop a database, you can do everything. So that's the only thing that you will do additionally. And then Chitish, what you need to do then is when you do show tables. Okay, so Chitish, what you'll have to also do is, because your database server can contain many databases by the end of it, right? I mean, in the, the future, you can create many databases. So you'll have to kind of select the database that you just created. Now, just for people, see, I mean, I want everybody to focus, okay, even if you're not using MySQL Workbench, okay? Just for everybody's understanding, the two additional steps that we are doing here is, one is we are creating the database, and then we are selecting the database. And why did we not have to do in POP SQL? Any idea? Anybody who might have observed it? Why did we not have to do that use database name here?
Because we have already made a connection with it.
Because
at the time of establishing the connection, it had asked us for the particular database name as well.
Yes.
Right. And that's the reason why when we, sorry. If you notice here,
the credit,
Yeah, so the database name is given and it was a
Okay.
mandatory thing.
Mhm.
Yes.
Get the point? So the reason why we don't have to do use here, because it's by default connected to that particular database only, and then it allows us to select
Only one. Yeah, that makes sense. Pratik. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
And yeah. And what all data types we have in SQL?
Same.
I mean, like,
there are 4 basic data types, Kshitij. Okay.
okay.
Numeric, alphanumeric, which is text,
Mm-hmm.
date,
Mm-hmm.
date and time, sorry, and Boolean.
Boolean. True.
These are the 4 basic data types any database will support.
Perfect. Thank you, Pratik.
Now, the commands are same whether we are using PopSQL or we are using MySQL Workbench. Why? Any idea?
Say it again.
So question is, if you look at the SQL command that we are using here in PopSQL client versus the SQL command that we are using in MySQL Workbench are the same. Any idea why?
Well, because that's the kind of a standard method or kind of a syntax that remains same.
Yeah, because underlying database for both the cases, both the clients are the same, which is MySQL.
Yes.
I get a point. Hence, the commands are same. Got it? Now, any questions? Can I assume that everybody has understood all these points? Everybody has understood these tasks that I asked you to do.
Yes.
And what was the practice assignment that I had given to you? I mean, just remind me, because Chachal, I mean, my team member would have done it. So we had to create a new table, and what else did you have to do?
We need to insert 5 rows in it.
Okay.
And then we need to change a name.
Change
And
the name
then-
of a column.
Yes, of a column and a value of a column.
Okay. Update the value of a column. Okay. Was there anything else?
That's it.
Achha.
Deletion was also.
Yeah, one delete a row.
Okay. So now, since you asked me this question, so I will just tackle this. How do we rename a column, right? How do we rename a column? Anybody who was able to do it? So let's say I have a table here called as customers. Yeah, and then these are the tables here. Sorry, these are the columns here. Let's
Just
say
for
there
a
is
second,
column.
just for
Yeah.
a second. So the column name should not have any space in it, right?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If a column name has a space in it, then what you need to do is, for example, there is a column here called as number of credit card, right? Now,
Yes.
if instead of star, if I say I want to select number of credit card, see this, right? Now, here in PopSQL, I run this statement, okay, and it failed. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Fazil?
Because of the space?
Yeah, because of the space.
Okay. But in the table, it is not showing. It's showing as a space, right?
Yeah. So what we need to do is, we need to put that under a pair of ticks, and tick is the symbol before number 1 below escape in your laptop.
Okay, as a text.
No, it's not a text. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. This tick is not same as single quote or double quote, Fazal.
Okay.
This tick is a symbol before number 1 in your keyboard, keystroke before number 1 in your keyboard.
Yes,
and
yes.
Use it whenever the table name or the column name or the database name has a space or any other special characters in it. Now, this is specific to MySQL SQL. Okay, it's like, you know, being able to speak English in Australia and in India and in the US, right? I mean, a few things will change here and there. If you're using MS Access for now, say for example, or Microsoft SQL SQL, then in that case, we would have done the same thing under square brackets. I would have written number of credit cards under square bracket from customers. But this square bracket will not work here.
Okay. So the error that came in while while creating a database in MySQL bench was because of this space, right?
Absolutely.
And if I want to add a space in my database, is there a way?
Yeah, you can. That's what I'm saying. Then you have to give the field name under pair of ticks.
Undercode. Okay. Okay, got it. Got it.
Ticks is not a single quote. Keystroke below escape in the keyboard. Okay.
Yes.
So Pratik, if we don't have any space in column, we can use it directly without the
Yes.
single stroke. Okay.
You can.
Sorry, I've been asking question in between. It's breaks up the continuity.
It's not a problem. So yeah, I mean, if you notice, you know, I brought my result at the I mean at the bottom. Okay, and how did I do it? Because there is a result position here, results on the right, and results are at the bottom. I like to see my results at the bottom. It gives me a little more room to write the code. Okay, and I've increased the size as well with the help of Control and plus size of the font.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Couple of things that I want to talk about today. Okay, before that, I just want to make sure that I've covered this. So how do we rename a column? So how to rename a column is, let's say, alter table, and the name of the table is, let's say, customers in my case, and then you write rename, right? Rename, and then you write what are we renaming column, and let's say the column that I want to rename is number of credit card to, let's say, number PC, or maybe credit something like this, without any space in it. Did you see this? This had a space, so that is why I put them under pair of ticks, and this doesn't have space, so I don't have to.
Yes, Pratik.
And it has now made that change. And hence, if I describe customers, you can see the name of the column has changed to number. Sorry, alter and rename, Shweta. Vikas, can I ask you to unmute Vikas until you have a question? Because there is some background coming. Vikas Sharma. Thank you. Vikas.
Yes, Pratik.
Sorry, can you be on mute unless you have a question, because there was some big background coming.
Sure, sure.
Thank you. Okay. What was the other question that you had? Delete a row. How do we delete a row? Delete from customers. Let's say where
name equal to something.
Where name is equal to Let's say name is equal to Henry. Clear, guys? Risky statement, okay? It's a risky statement. So that's how we rename that's how we rename delete a row.
Pratik, if the name has surname also, then we need to put surname as well. Otherwise, it won't delete it, right?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It will delete all the rows which had name columns value as Henry. If it had a surname, then of course you have to give a surname as well.
So it will delete all the Henrys, Henry Sharma, Henry.
All the rows belonging to any of the Henrys.
Okay.
If we take only the distinct rows which we don't want to delete and delete the duplicates only, then what we have to do?
We will talk about it, Shikhar. We'll have to understand first, how do we find out the values which are duplicate, and then we'll have to do a couple of things there, Shikhar, to ensure that we are only deleting the rows which have duplicate values.
So the command you have put here is to delete all the content in the table.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
No. It will only delete those rows, Shikhar, where the name is equals to Henry.
Okay. Okay, Pratik.
Now, if you notice one important thing here, guys. Okay, one more question that people had asked was that how do we modify the data types? Alter table customers, alter, let's say column is, one of the column is, let's say, let's say cust ID. No, let's say name. Name is the column, right? And I want to make it as varchar 200. Let's say earlier it was 100 characters. So now I can increase it. So modify. Modify, alter table customer, modify name varchar. Okay, so this would increase the size to 200. But again, as we discussed, so essentially to modify the data type, you have to use modify and then name the column and then the data type. But again, you cannot downgrade and you cannot create any conflict with the existing data.
So Pratik, by conflict, you mean we cannot, change the varchar to integer or something like that?
No,
right?
you cannot. You'll have to drop that column, Chittis, and then do it.
Okay, makes sense.
Pratik, how to rename the table?
How to rename the table? Alter table customers, rename let's say I will rename not my table. I will rename, let's say, okay. Okay. Sorry. Whose table should I rename?
You rename my table?
Sanjeev, what is there? Sanjeev.
Sanjeev. Customers. Underscore, yeah.
So let's rename it to Sanj.
Sanj, yeah.
Cust.
Okay.
That's it. Alter table this, rename this.
Okay, so you can make changes in any of the table, right? But
Wait a minute.
me,
The table name.
Is it case sensitive?
No, it's not case sensitive. Is Sanjeet customer there? The
it is case sensitive. Pratik, S is capital in my.
but
I discovered this thing. Yes, it happens.
really, oh, okay. Maybe some operations are, but again, case sensitiveness actually depends upon the client that we're using. I get a point. Suppose if I go back to the MySQL workbench, and here I can write describe capital also, and it'll give me the answer. And I can write, I'm of course not connected to the table. Use I get a point, and I can describe customers as well. So it actually case sensitiveness, it kind of varies from the client to client. But yeah, it's nothing wrong in being case sensitive. Anyway, so this is how you would actually rename the table, and you'll have to refresh it again. And after refreshing it, it will show you the okay. So that's how we would rename this. Okay.
So we can rename any of the tables here, which are listed
here,
here.
yes, you can, because I have given you admin access.
Okay, all right.
But what happens is, think practically. These are not the operations that you would do very, very often. I get a point. And you would also not have access to do these things very quickly. Does make sense, guys?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. One of the quick things that I want to talk about today was that, you see, when we work in a real life setting, you do not work in a database which has only one table in it. You work in a database which has multiple tables. And the reason why we have multiple tables is because of something called as redundancy. Now, what is the meaning of redundancy? Just to give you an example. If you notice here, imagine in a banking firm, which issues credit cards, let's say, or which issues loans. Let's say there are two types of tables that we want to create. Two types of information that we want to gather or we want to capture in our database. One is the customers who are applying for the loans, and the second is the well, in fact, three types: customers who are applying for loans, so customer and the loan information, and the third type is the loan officers or the employees of the bank who are reviewing the loans, right? So there are three major categories of information that we are trying to store here: customer category of information, loans category of information, and the employees category information or the loan officer category of information. If you try to create one table to manage all this three different category of information, then you will end up having repetition in the data. As you can see, one customer might have applied for multiple loans, right? Imagine this customer has applied for these three different loans, because these three loans, a person can apply for home loan, personal loan, car loan. So then in the customer specific columns, which are these, ID, name, first name, last name, email, date of birth, these all have repetitions in it. Do you see this? And then in the employee related columns, right, you would again have repetitions in them. Why? because one employee might have or might be reviewing multiple loans or multiple loan applications. I get my point, guys. So this is called as redundancy. Did you understand what I just said, guys?
Yes.
In order to avoid this situation, what we do is we do not like to create a single table to manage multiple categories of information in a database, right? So what we end up doing is that we end up dividing the database into multiple tables, right? Now, in this particular situation, how many tables should we really have in this situation?
3 of them.
We should have 3 tables, one for each category. So for example, we will have one table which will have these columns: cust ID, first name, last name, date of birth, and email ID, right? Then we will have one table with loan information, loan ID, loan amount, loan status, loan type. And then the third table we will have employees related information. Is this clear, everybody?
Yes.
Now, think about this. If you're going to divide these tables, or sorry, this database into 3 different tables, then what is the issue that we will get into? What are the new
We
issue?
will not be able to relate as to which employee does which type of loan.
Absolutely right. We will not be able to answer questions which require information from multiple tables together. For example, if you have a separate table for customers and separate table for loans and separate table for employees, then how would you know which customer has applied for which loan? And how will you know which employee has reviewed which loan? And that is why what we end up doing is we end up creating relationships between them. And the meaning of relationship in the table design, in the database design, is that between, let's say, this table and the loans table, you need to have a common column. Common column here basically means
Unique kind of.
Yeah, you have here called as you have something here called as employee ID. Now, employee ID was not a column which was originally there in the loans table. We created employee ID just to create a relationship with the customer table. Do you understand this, guys?
Yes, yes.
Then we created relationship between employee table and the loans table. Oh, sorry, yeah, we created the relationship between employee table and the loans table by creating employee ID here, right? So now there is a common column between employee table and the loans table. And if you want to know which loans were approved or rejected, or which loans were reviewed by which employee, if you go to the loans table, you can easily see the employee ID. Let's say 999, and with that 999 employee ID, you can go to the employee table and get all the other details about that employee.
Okay.
Now, if you notice, between customer table and the loans table, we have created a relationship, but the relationship is through a third table. Okay, cust ID, the third table's name is customer loans. Now, if you would think, why have we created a relationship, and why have we created this third table just to create a relationship between customer and loans? We could have created the common column either in the customer table or the loans table for creating the relationship between them. The reason is because of efficiency, right? In order to make the database design a little more efficient, efficient here basically means that have lesser redundancy, meaning one customer can apply for multiple loans. Do you all agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And so then we are saying one customer can apply for multiple loans, 1 to infinity here. And then if you notice, one loan can have multiple applicants, co-applicants. So again, you have a 1 to infinity relationship here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not able to know.
Ashish, one loan application can have multiple co-applicants, right? Customer 1, customer 2, customer 3.
Yes, yeah.
Say husband, wife, and let's say husband's dad.
But it won't be infinity.
Hey, infinity in the sense, technically saying that one to many. Let's not call it a disparity. Maybe it's one
Yes.
and many.
Yeah.
Right? I get a point.
Mhm.
If the type of relationship between two tables is one to many from both the sides, meaning if one customer can apply for many loans and if one loan can have many customers, then the net relationship is, we call it as many to many relationship. You get the point?
Yeah.
In a many to many relationship, in order to make the database design more efficient by reducing redundancy, what we do is we create a third table. And in the third table, we bring one unique column from each one of the parent tables. Parent table meaning from the customer table, and here from the loans table. Loan ID and customer ID. One unique column. Right? Generally, that unique column in the respective table is called as
Primary key.
primary key. So primary key is a column which is both unique as well as mandatory in that table. Is it making sense, guys? And a good database design means that each table should have a primary key. Okay. Now, two things we have learned. One, we have learned that a database ideally, a practical real life database ideally should have multiple tables in order to avoid redundancy. And how do we decide how many tables should we have? We should try and identify the kind of category of information that we're trying to store in a database design, right? This category of information, in other words, is also called as entities. Categories are also called as entities, and entities are also called as tables. So a database can have multiple entities or multiple tables. Is it making sense? And in order to relate the two tables, we need to have a common column. Is it making sense, guys?
Yes, Pratik.
Yes. Yes.
Now, if it is a many-to-many relationship between two tables, then we create a third table and we put the primary of both the parent tables into the third table, like the way we have done in this case. Is it making sense? Now, if it is a one-to-many relationship, then we put the primary key as the common column in the other side, meaning we create the common column in the many side. I get a point. See, this is in the one side and this is the many side, because one employee can review many loans. So if that is the case, then by default, the rule is to create the foreign key in the many side in order to minimize redundancy. Hence, we have brought in the primary key of this employee table as the common column in the other side. The common column, by the way, is also called as foreign key. Now we have discussed three things. One, that a database should have multiple tables. Second, that a database, since it has multiple tables, so hence we need to create relationships between the tables in order to answer questions which require information from multiple tables together. In order to create the relationship, we need to have a common column between them. And that is where foreign key comes into the picture. And in order to create the foreign key, the rule is, if it is a one-to-many relationship, we create the foreign key in the many side. If it is a many-to-many relationship, we create a third table and we bring the primary of both the parent tables into the third table. Are these 3 points clear, everybody?
Yes, Pratik.
Yeah, Pratik. There are 1, 2, 3, 3, and the fourth step. What is this fourth step? I mean, the customer loan.
Customer loan, we just discussed, right? What is the type of relation between customer and loans, Sanjeev?
It's
one customer can apply
one to
loans.
many, and even many to one.
Meaning, Sanjeev, again, very simple to understand. One customer can apply for many loans, right, Sanjeev?
Yeah, yeah.
Then one loan have multiple co-applicants or multiple customers.
Yes.
So then it is one to many from both the sides.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hence, it is many to many relationship.
Yes.
I'll give you another example. one supplier can supply many products to a company,
Yeah, true.
and one company may have many suppliers as well.
Yes.
So that means between supplier and company, there can be many-to-many relationship. One supplier
Yes.
can supply to many companies, and one company may have many suppliers.
Yes.
So it is a many-to-many relationship.
Mhm.
In any many-to-many relationship, we create the relationship between them by creating a third table in order to minimize redundancy.
Okay. I'm saying that yes, there are already 3 tables here, and this is the 4th one.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
There were 3 tables initially: customer, loans, and employees. Why did we create 3 tables, Sanjeev?
Yes,
Because
yeah.
remember, we were working with this scenario where there were 3 major categories of information: customer information, loans information, and
Yes, and employee information. Yes.
right? Hence, we decided to create 3 different tables.
Yes.
Right? But then we realized between customer and loans table, there is a many-to-many relationship.
Yes.
Hence, we created a 4th table.
Now got it.
So Pratik, foreign key is nothing but in case of many to one, the table reference from the unique,
the common part.
the common part, and for many to
in the
many.
third table, Faisal, in the same breath, in the third table, there are 2 foreign keys.
Yes, 2 foreign keys that will be a part of the table where we are trying to relate multiple many to many tables.
That's right, Faisal.
Okay.
Got it? Now, one question that still remains unanswered. In the customer table, cust ID is the primary key. Loans table, loan ID is the primary key. Employee table, employee ID is the primary key. What is the primary key of this 4th table?
So can it be employee key?
No. In the 4th table, there is no employee. This doesn't need to have an employee, because this is a relationship between customer and loans. In such a case, where there is not a single column primary key, then we say, hey, can we combine 2 or more columns to uniquely identify each and every row in the table? Then in this case, the primary key will be a combination of cust ID and loan ID.
Oh.
That means it's a unique situation that generally the primary key is a single column, but in cases where there is no single column primary key, then we say, can we combine 2 or more columns to form the primary key? So then the definition of a primary key slightly changes to saying the minimal subset of columns that will be able to uniquely identify each and every row in a table. That becomes the primary key. If there is a single column that can uniquely identify each and every row in a table, then that column is the primary key. If not, then we try and see, can we combine 2 or more columns to form the primary key? That also means, if you notice, cust ID here is repeating 101, 101. This also is repeating. Do you see this, guys?
Yes.
But the combination will not repeat. Does it make sense?
Yes, to make it unique, right?
Absolutely.
That will not be a separate column.
No.
Per se.
No.
Okay.
So
primary key will be a combination of multiple columns.
So primary key can be a combination of 2 or more columns as well, in situations where the table doesn't have a single column primary key. But that doesn't mean that you end up joining the 2 tables. I mean, combining the 2 columns. Anyway, you know why I wanted to give you this primer about something called as entity relationship diagram, or ERD. Normally, I don't cover in the classes. I just give you a theory tutorial, which I will also give you here. But you know, I mean, and the reason why I don't cover so much or put so much focus into this is, as an analyst, you don't do these things very regularly. As an analyst, you are a reader of these things. That, hey, in a database design, why do we have so many tables? Why is this table related to the other table? Why is there a foreign key in this table but not a foreign key in the other side? Right? You are a reader. So this helps you to answer all the why questions that may come to your mind when you actually see the database designs. You're not yourself designing a database. You're more like a consumer of an already designed database. Is it making sense, everybody?
Yes, Pratik.
Huh? You understand some concepts, some fundamental concepts of entity relationship diagram, or ERD as we say, then at least when you are reading the designs, you can appreciate what is really going on.
Okay.
And it's not rocket science.
Who designs the database?
The database designers. There are people who are specialists who would have spent, at least a few years in various different businesses, or they would have seen multiple multiple businesses in their life. See, I mean, as a computer engineer, you learn all these things. It's not really a big deal to learn these things, but generally database designers are little experienced folks who have seen multiple businesses, have seen, we are talking about only 4 tables. A database design may contain 500 tables, right? So, he has to understand how the businesses work. He has to understand how the data will flow from one table to another. He has to be also conscious of these kind of efficiency things, like redundancy and all of that. Sanjeev.
Yes.
As an analyst, you are part of that team, or you can have a discussion. You will have a lot of discussion. You will probably work. You may be called into such database discussions as well, database design discussions also. But again, understand one more thing, Sanjeev. It's not like an organization creates a database design every day. They may just create it once and they may end up using it for 10 years, tens of years. Sanjeev.
True.
It's like building design. We don't design a new building every day, unless your work is to design building.
Got it.
Got it? Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give you a short tutorial. It will take approximately 45 minutes to read it, where all these, the little bit of things that we discussed today about entity relationship diagram, you will be able to read it. You'll be able to understand it. It's a very nice tutorial by Microsoft only. Very nicely given, what is the need of breaking the database into multiple tables. Why do we have a one-to-many relationship? What do we do in a one-to-many relationship? Why do we have a many-to-many relationship? What do we do in a many-to-many relationship? And so some best practices are given in database design. Not that you are going to do it very often, but still it's good, very nice thing to know, right? Once I have given you that, once you have reviewed that, right, I am going to give you a set of commands which will help you create this loan database with these tables, right? These are the commands that I'm going to give to you, where you'll be able to create the customer table, employee table, the loans table, and yeah, okay. And that's it. I mean, that's about it. That's what I'm going to give to you. There is no data entry here happening. That we will discuss in the next class. And also in the next class, we will also now start putting our hat, the analyst hat as we call it. We will start analyzing the data also in the next class onwards, right? That will also answer maybe Govind's question that, hey, I already know Excel. I know, I run some SQL queries as well in VBA, but why am I learning SQL in so much depth? Once you start realizing the importance and the depth of analysis and the control that it gives you, and it becomes so easy to do that kind of analysis using SQL and reusable commands. Once you write the command once, you can reuse them in multiple databases. That's not a problem. So once you understand and appreciate that, then you'll be able to appreciate that, okay, this is why SQL is such a important, one of the top 3 skills that any data scientist or a data analyst should know. Is it making sense, everybody? So 2 things I'm going to give to you. One is a reading tutorial, and one is a few scripts, these few scripts, not many, to create this loan database with multiple tables in it. Got it?
Yes, Pratik.
Once you have created the tables, up to you if you want to add data into them or not. Got it, everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question, guys? Any question? I'm here for the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever
So,
time. Yeah.
Prateek, I want to ask, how can we get the data from multiple tables?
We will
For example, first name from the customer and loan type from the loan and employee ID from the employee. How can we collect all information in a single table?
Absolutely right question to ask. Maybe just a little early to ask. Just one early to ask. We will learn something called as joins.
Okay.
That will help you get the data from multiple tables in a synchronized fashion. Okay, but perfect question to ask. Just next class onwards, most likely we will start doing joins.
Prateek, one question from my side, Faisal this side. So, you told us to enter a column in a database or table. Can you also tell me how to insert a column where it is a formula based table? So, percentage of sales or calculating a calculated field basically or column.
Faisal, in general, Faisal, we in database design, the philosophy of database design says that you should not have calculated columns in the table itself. Okay. But having said that, we don't really create calculated columns, but we say we can insert calculation or calculated columns into the table by multiplying, dividing, and all of that. That's not a big problem. But the table design philosophy says you should not have calculated columns, because here the problem is when you're, this is not a, this is not a reporting tool. It's more of a data manipulation language and data fetching language from multiple sources. For reporting, we take the data into, let's say, Excel or a Power BI, and then we analyze them there. Faisal, do you understand what I'm trying to say, Faisal?
Okay.
So that is the reason why calculated fields are not something that is by default available in most of the databases, Faisal.
Okay, so what if I want to add an extra column in a database that tells me the percentage of income?
Well, Faisal, this is more like a reporting, and in the next class onwards, we will talk about that. You don't really need to add any columns. At the time of querying the data, you can do that kind of analysis very easily, extremely easily. Just like how we would type something on a calculator, we would type it over here.
Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is that calculation you will do at the time of querying the data. I mean, you can actually try yourself. It's not really a big deal. Because we already have some data in these tables, right? So let's say we normally write from customers, right? Right? And let's say we have, what all columns we have? Okay, let's say I do count of customers. Yeah. Now what this will do is it will calculate the total number of records in the customers table and give you the output. Faisal.
Okay.
I get your point.
So it's give me the information about the count of the column.
Count on the column, just like how we would count on, do it in any reporting tool. Not sure why it's taking so much time, but it's a very simple query. It'll basically give you the total number. Yeah, it gives you 97. I get a point, Faisal. Now in this table, we don't really have a lot more information. Otherwise, I would have shown you a few more things, and we will see this. I mean, these are the kind of analysis that we will start doing it in the future classes. I mean, like in the next class onwards. There's nothing here. Got it? Do we have a gender as a column? Yeah, okay. So this gives you 40 females. Does it make sense, Faisal?
Yes, but it is only talking about the detail of the specific table.
Yes. We will talk about rows as well.
Okay.
Don't worry. Faisal. Don't worry about it. There are no, I mean, there are columns. Columns are not there actually. I mean, columns are very limited in the customer table. When you go a little deeper, for example, there is no, I mean, what do I calculate on the, you know, I mean, like there is no income, there is no salary, there is nothing here that I can do the calculations upon. Faisal. I get a point.
Okay. If you allow me, can I share my screen and maybe I frame my question
make sure that
incorrectly?
I'm not taking everybody's time. So
Okay.
guys, you have an assessment at 3 p.m. You have
Okay.
an assessment at 3 p.m. So I don't want to take that time because then it has a hard stop, Faisal. Ask me
Okay.
this
No
tomorrow.
worries.
No worries. We will have a discussion on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, Faisal. Sorry, I had to cut you.